So good morning again, and welcome to the Catalog VILT session. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that acronym, it stands for Virtual Instructor-Led Training, and it is the second part of your two-part training for the new EVA platform. That first part was the self-paced training in the learning management system that's hosted by VIP, the Virginia Institute of Procurement. And now we get to do these sessions, which I think are a really nice complement to that self-paced training, because not only do we get to review some key topics, but we also get to, excuse me, take a look at the demo in the platform. And finally, we get to maybe do the most important part, which is answer any questions that you might have. So before we hop into the slide presentation for today, I do just want to go over some Zoom reminders with you all. First of all, today's session is a webinar and not a meeting, and I mean that in Zoom terms. So what does that mean for you? It means that your cameras are turned off and that you are muted. And that's just so that we can make sure that we try our best to not have any unwanted interruptions, because if you are anything like me, you've left yourself unmuted by accident before, and it can be very embarrassing. So don't worry about that today. But there are still two ways you can interact with us. First one being the chat feature. You all have been using it beautifully to say good morning or to say happy birthday to Sandy, or both. Continue to use it for comments. There are going to be a couple times today where you're asked to provide some feedback, and the chat is where you want to do that. And we'll remind you of that when we get to those parts of today's presentation. Also, the question and answer box is for any questions that you have at any point during today's session. So please make sure that if you have a question, that it goes in that Q&A box. A couple reasons for that. One, we might miss it if it's in the chat because there's a lot of activity that's going to be going on, especially when we ask for that feedback. Secondly, the chat is not something that is retained by Zoom when you're in a webinar. Only the question and answers are. So if you put a chat question, or a question in the chat, I should say, we might not be able to get to it, and then it will be lost and we can't get back to you. So please, please, please put it in the Q&A. And the other reason is to make sure that we are able to address any questions that you might have that we can't answer. And the only way we can do that is if we see it in the Q&A. Finally, before we go into introducing ourselves, this is something I need everybody to listen extremely carefully to, because it's kind of new and I want to make sure that we all get counted for attending today's session. So despite me saying you only put questions in the Q&A, there is only one thing I'm going to ask you to do. If you have what's called a Zoom alias, basically anything that is not your name. How do you know that? You would know that if you put something in the chat and it shows up as your display name as something other than your name. If it shows up as me, it normally means you have a Zoom account and I can see your name anyway. If you are one of the folks that has a display name that is not your name, please put that in the question and answer box. This is the only time I'm going to ask you that you put a something that's not a question in the Q&A. Then what I will do is, while Sandy is doing her demo, I will clear them out so that the Q&A box is clean of everything except questions. So if you have a question during that time that's not putting your name in, not a problem. I will keep that up there. But if you think that you have a display name that is something other than your name that would prevent me from marking you as attending today's session, please put that in the Q&A box so that I can make sure that your Zoom name gets matched up with your real name and I can mark that as attending in the learning management system. I know that was a lot, but this really helps me when I go in and mark attendance later. Finally, attendance will be marked within 24 to 48 hours after today's session. I have to go in and manually do it, which honestly is a lot easier than the certificates that we used to have. So I don't mind doing it, but I do ask that you give me a little bit of time to do that. It won't be updated immediately, is what I wanted to let you know. So let's hop into introducing ourselves. So first of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Lewis. I am the P2P lead and the training lead for the EVA team. And I am extremely honored to be in both positions, but I will tell you that I absolutely have a passion for training, especially when it comes to training on a new software platform, because I know it's something that can be anxious, that can make you anxious. It's something that can be intimidating, and it's something that can be nerve-wracking, especially when it's a new system that's replacing something that you've been utilizing for potentially over 20 years, because that's how long the I can now say old platform, since it's down, has been used. So I'm hoping that as a training team, we are making you feel more comfortable with going into the new platform, and also knowing that the training is around not only for pre-go live, but also post-go live. So hopefully you will find today's session valuable. But I will pass it over to Sandy to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandy Stanley, and as Sarah mentioned, it's my birthday, so thank you all for the birthday wishes. I'm the EVA catalog manager, and I'm so excited to be able to give you guys a demo of what catalogs are going to look like in the new platform.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy. And thank you for being gracious about me letting everyone know it's your birthday. I think she should feel special, right? Okay. So we are actually going to start today's session with a poll question. And it is which of these best describes your role in EVA? You can select multiple options, because we know that some people wear multiple hats as their roles in the EVA platform, but we'll give you about 30 seconds to respond. This really just lets us know who our audience is today and who's out there that's watching, so that we can make sure that we are talking to you all and making training applicable to your roles. So we are right at 84%, which is not bad for a Thursday morning. We can get it up over 90. I will end the poll and share the results with all of you. We're almost there. Almost. Okay, we're sitting steady at 88%. So I will end the poll and share the results with you. So we have majority of requisitioners on the call, which is great. You're in the right place. Same thing with approvers. Managers, admin, and other, you are also in the right place. Why do I say that? Because it's really important to know how the catalog process is completed in the new platform. Not only if you're a requisitioner or an approver, but also if you are a manager, an admin, or even in another category. It really lets you know a lot about the different modules if you are participating in the VILT. So we appreciate you being here. So I'm going to stop sharing that, and I am going to launch our next poll, which is, what is your confidence level for this topic? So are you at a high confidence level? You feel like, I know the catalogs, I got this, I'm going full steam ahead. Are you in the medium confidence level? Like, kind of feel like you know what you're doing, but maybe not quite sure yet? Are you in the low, thinking, not really sure about this catalog component of the new platform? I should mention there's no right or wrong answer here, and Sandy and I cannot see what the responses are. We can just see numbers of people that have responded. So feel free to be as honest as possible. There, again, no right or wrong answer here. This is a new platform, so it's understandable if you are in that medium or low. So we are actually right at 90%. So I will end the poll and share the results. So the majority of you are in that medium group, about 2/3 of you, little under. And then we also have about 1/3 of you in low, and then little under 10% for that high. So not a problem. This is absolutely fine. The reason we ask this question is I kind of want to get a feeling for where you are before we go into the session today. And then we'll ask you another similar poll question towards the end. And then that way we can see if your confidence level was brought up at all during today's session. Means that we did our jobs and make us very happy. So thank you all for sharing that information. And finally, before we go into the topics for today, we want to know, what do you hope to take away from today's session? Please write this in the chat and not the Q&A. Please write it in the chat and make sure that it is set to everyone so we all can see your responses. Some people have said, I want to get more knowledge, or I want to learn more about the catalog shopping process. Maybe they want to see a demo. So I'm seeing understanding, knowledge, overview, demo, being comfortable with the change, efficiency, all great things. I think that we will be able to meet all of these expectations today, hopefully. Wow, everybody's awake this morning and typing in what you hope to get out of today's session. I'm loving this. Awesome. Good job, guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, quick session agenda. So we will do a quick recap of your self-paced training. Then Sandy will do a live demo for you. Then we'll go into the Q&A part that we talked about. And finally, we will go into some next steps, what you can do after today's session. So here are the topics we are going to cover during our quick recap. We're going to take a look at the catalog shopping process. We're also going to discuss the difference between catalog items and punch-out catalog items. We'll also talk about some best practices for browsing the new catalog feature, I should say, not new catalogs. And also we'll talk about searching and filtering and how that can help you when you are browsing the catalogs. And finally, we'll take a look at maybe what is my favorite part of the new catalog module in the new platform, which is comparing. I think it has a really cool feature to it that I hope you all get excited about as well. So let's go over the catalog shopping process. First of all, I want to let you all know that this is relatively basically the same as it is now. It's just going to look a little bit different in the new platform. One of my other co-trainers called it being packaged differently, which I think is a great way to say that, yep, just going to be looked differently. It's basically like when you're when a food or a drink that you're used to having changes their logo and their packaging. It's still, you hope it still tastes the same, it just is packaged a little differently. So you're still going to be browsing the catalog and using the search and filter and even the compare. So after you're done doing that browsing, you are then going to choose the item and add it to your cart. Once you're done adding any items that you need to your cart, you select the checkout button. Again, this is all very similar to what we do today. And finally, you complete all those required requisition details and you submit it for approval. The cool thing is when you click that checkout button, it creates a requisition shell for you. And Sandy will show you a little bit of that during our demo today. So let's talk about the difference between catalog items and punch-out catalog items. So catalog items are items that are provided by the supplier that are actually built into EVA. You're not going anywhere else to see these items. They are in EVA. They can be shopped for using a very similar process to the punch-out items. And I do want to mention that they can include contract and non-contract items. Just because something is in a catalog and is a catalog item does not mean it's on contract. It can include contract and non-contract items. Then let's talk about punch-out items. So these are items that are available on punch-out sites that are linked to EVA. So it actually requires you as a buyer to punch out of EVA to a supplier maintained site that will look very similar to their regular site that you would access outside of procuring in EVA. So once you do that, you're able to shop, and different suppliers have the different buttons in different places. But if we all know how to online shop, you can use the punch out catalog. And then finally, once you're done shopping there and you submit your cart, it pushes all of that data back to EVA and creates a contract, or excuse me, a requisition shell for you based on those catalog items. Also, just like the catalog items, punch out items can include contract and non-contract items. So let's talk about some best practices for browsing the catalog. First, you want to make sure that you're in the correct area based on whether you're looking for products or services. Then when you're searching, know that you can be as broad or specific as you want. It really just depends on how much you know about what you want to purchase, whether it's a product or a service. So I like to give the example of if your boss asks you to order some notepads, and let's say that she is very specific about the type of notepad she wants. She wants spiral bound, 3-hole punch, college ruled, perforated pages. You're able to be that specific as you're filtering. But let's say that she doesn't care that much and it's like, just get me some notebooks. You can also be broad like that and just type in notebooks and find something that you think that your boss might like. Also, you can add multiple items to your cart before creating the requisition, and that's even if the items are from different suppliers. What happens as a result of that is that multiple purchase orders are created to split up those supplier items. So just know that that is something that you are able to do. You are able to have that flexibility. And finally, utilizing the comparison tool when needed. So maybe you need to compare two items that you're not really sure which one you should purchase. Utilizing the comparison tool can sometimes help with that. So let's take just a brief look at a screenshot of the search and filter tool. This is something that Sandy will go over in a little more depth in her demo, but you can see that you do have the ability to limit your search results based on commodity, contract, supplier, a whole lot of different things. There's even more options than this that Sandy will show you during the demo. So you heard me say that the compare items is my favorite part of the catalog module, and it really is, and I'll tell you why. It's because of this green number right here. So basically, when you are comparing two items, whichever item is the least expensive of the two, it is highlighted in green. Sure, you're thinking, yes, Sarah, we all know that 5 is less than 7. But I will say that when I was a buyer and looking at numbers all day long and trying to get the requisitions submitted so that they could be approved, that lower number didn't always jump out to me. So this is a nice way where they can let you know this is the less expensive of the two options. You can also even add to your cart from the comparison screen, which I think is neat as well. And Sandy will show you this during the demo. So finally, I'm going to ask you another question that will require you to put your feedback in the chat. That is in the chat and not the Q&A. How would you navigate to the catalog from this page? Not something that we mentioned during today's training, but it was in your self-paced training. And I'm already seeing correct answers. So great job, guys. Yes, it is the shop in the top navigation right there. Great job. Still coming in. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am going to turn it over to Sandy now, who is going to do a live demo in the UAT platform. So I am going to stop sharing so that she can start sharing.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. I'm really excited to share about catalogs now. And Sarah, if you'll just let me know if you can see my screen.
Looks great.
All right, thank you. All right, so if you haven't had a look yet, this is what our new platform is going to look like. This is Eva. I do want to go ahead and let you know that I am logged in as an admin, and this is a UAT testing environment. So there may be a few things on here that you see that you won't normally see when you get into Eva. So as everyone guessed correctly, we're going to go ahead and click on shop and then search products. And that's going to take us to the catalog landing page. And this is a look at that catalog landing page. And so this is where all of our catalog items are. I want to go ahead and go into this little funnel here so we can talk about the search and filter feature that Sarah was telling you about. And this little thumbtack here, if you click that, it'll keep it open for you. So you can search your catalog products by commodity. You can start typing in if you know what you're looking for, and it'll give you some examples. You could type in the number or the word. And then if you click see all, it gives you a more advanced search. Maybe you weren't sure which commodity you were looking for. And if you click on see all, it'll open up the advanced search feature. And it's coming. See the circle spinning. Should have gave Eva some coffee this morning. All right. And then you would be able to dive in and look closer in this advanced search to find the commodity you're looking for if you weren't sure. So we're going to close out of that. You can search by contract. So again, if you knew your contract number, you could go ahead and type it in, and then it'll bring up the results for you so that you could see what catalog items or punch out catalogs that are on a contract. And just like the commodity drop down, there's a see all in case you need to drill down deeper and use that advanced search to find the contract that you're looking for. You can also search by supplier. So if you knew the supplier you were looking for, you could type that in and then click on the supplier. And then that'll filter the catalog items in the punch out catalogs, the only ones that are on that listed under that supplier. And just like the other fields, there's the see all, which opens the advanced search so that you could go ahead and dive a little deeper. As you've moved around in the system, or once you do, if you have selected a supplier as your favorite, there's a way to star them. You would check this box and it would bring up all your favorite suppliers, and it would filter once you click search by the favorite suppliers that you have in your list, the catalog items and the punch out catalogs that are tied to those suppliers. I'm going to skim over this status. It defaults to approved. You're going to want to leave it there. The other options are draft and blocked, and you cannot purchase those. Those are more for the admin or behind the scenes. So you want to leave that unapproved. You can search by, filter your catalog products and punch out catalogs by display options, non-approved items, generic only, previously purchased items in history browse. And I saved punch out only for last because that's my favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and check that box, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Kits. If you have a kit that you'll be able to create and save, like say every time you purchase notepads, you also purchase pens and pencils and sticky notes. You can create a kit and save it, and those would be available in this drop down for you here, and it would pull back those catalog items that you have saved in the kit that you created. You can also search by SWAM categories, and you would be able to select more than one and put those in there, and then that would filter those catalog items and those punch out catalogs by the SWAM criteria that you have chosen. You can also search by contract subtype. Say you knew you were looking for mandatory source, and you could choose that, and it would filter out those catalog items and punch out catalogs to only ones that are on mandatory source. So I did want to talk about the punch out. I'm going to go ahead and close this. I did my search filtering. We're only seeing punch outs. So the difference between punch out catalog items and catalog items and punch out catalogs, the icon is going to be different. So we'll look at this icon here right now. It shows a shopping cart and then arrows and like to the world or the wide web. Let's go ahead and click on one so you can see the punch out catalog. We are punching out to that supplier's catalog. And once that opens up, you will see we're actually punching out. We're going outside of EVA into that supplier's punch out catalog. Here we are. And then we can search for the products and add them to the cart. And then when we have items in the cart, we can click checkout, and it'll bring those items back over to EVA for us. in that shell requisition that Sarah had mentioned earlier. But there is something new that's different from current EVA, or old EVA, as I should call it now, where if you were in a punch out catalog, up at the top, there'd be kind of a purple and black bar that you could close the punch out session and return to EVA. We do not have that in the new platform. If you are just looking around in the punch out catalog and you decided you didn't want to buy any or check out any items at this time, or maybe you were just looking for a price on an item, but you weren't ready to start your purchase, in order to get back to EVA, you would just click the back button on your browser to get you back. And now we're back in EVA. So you can see here, I wanted you to also see the difference between the way the punch out catalog button looks and the way a catalog item button looks. You can see here it just says add to cart. It doesn't have that shopping cart picture or the world. It just says add to cart. So this is a catalog item. And another thing that Sarah mentioned that I wanted to show you is catalog items and punch out catalogs can be on contract or not on contract. And I've got a lot of columns open here, but this contract column is the one where you would see that. So this item here is not on contract, but this item here is. And I do want to show you another really neat feature. If you're looking at these catalog items and you see a contract in the contract column, you can actually click on that contract to get more information about the contract. You may see that the contract's listed by description and you just want to verify that it's the right contract number. If you click on that, and I promise it's going to open in just a moment, we'll be able to see the contract number and other information. So this is a really good example. Here's the new contract number here, this CTR number, which I'm not sure if you can, I can't click on it or anything, but then up at the top, it shows the old contract number from Classic EVA. And then down below, it shows and it will not let me click on it, but there's a CTR number there, and that's the new contract number. So you can get more information about that contract before choosing that catalog item. So I'm going to go ahead and X that out. And I definitely wanted to show you the compare feature as well. So let's go ahead and enter a search here. I want to search for mouse pads. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in and click search. And I know I clicked off too quickly, but as you start typing, it will give you some suggestions and they come up underneath there. It's probably not going to do it now since I've already searched. And then it'll bring back the catalog items and the punch out catalogs that are a result of your search. And I am not looking to warm up any rodents this morning. I was actually looking for a computer mouse pad. So let's just scroll down a little bit. So if we wanted to compare, we would go ahead and check the box to the left here. And during testing, I've checked more than 10 and they all come up. But just for today's example, we're going to only select 2. And then I'm going to scroll back up after I've selected all the items that I want to compare and click the compare button. So when that opens up, like Sarah said, my eyes go right to the green. That's the lowest price. But you can compare the 2 items side by side, not only the price, but the item's name, which would have the description in it, the manufacturer's name, the supplier name, and other information like that. And as Sarah had said, we can add to the cart right from here. So right here, we can use the drop down to select the amount we need, or we could just type it in. And then we'd go ahead and click add to cart. And that is going to create our shell requisition, which is actually a draft requisition or a composing requisition. So there are other ways to say it, and it's over here on the right. And if I am ready to check out, if I didn't have other items that I wanted to add, I would go ahead and click the checkout button, and that'll bring our selected catalog items into that draft or composing requisition. My screen is loading here, but you may notice the red asterisk. There's some required fields that we normally have, like PO category. So I'll just go ahead and select that, and procurement transaction type. Those have not changed and they're still required. And then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and look at that catalog item that we added. I'm going to come down under items and services and click the pencil as the edit item. So we can take a closer look at the catalog item that we added to our draft composing requisition. So the catalog item came over and you can see some of the fields are grayed out and you cannot change that. They came over. This is the description of the catalog item. You cannot change it. These are grayed out. What you can change is, oh, I meant to order more. So I can go ahead and change the quantity here. And you can see the commodity came over and that's grayed out. Delivery date is open, so I could change that delivery date. The supplier is listed here and that's grayed out because this is that supplier's commodity item, so we cannot change that. But another really neat feature for Eva's new platform, this little link here besides supplier, if I click on that, that's going to open up and give me more information about the supplier. So maybe I wanted to take some notes about the supplier's account number or look up some other information about that supplier. I can look at that here. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And as we come down a little bit lower here, we can see there's some more information. But I really wanted to point out this supplier visible additional information. So you can enter comments here, and those will be visible to the supplier. And again, this is on the line item. We're in the item details. So that the line item level, you would enter comments for the supplier. And then you could have other additional details listed. And because they're not under that supplier information tag, they would be only visible internally. So we'll scroll down a little bit further, and we also have internal comments, and these would only be visible to internal folks, like say your approvers and all. And again, we're in the line item level here. So here's a look at allocations. Again, I want to remind you that I am signed in as an admin in the UAT environment. So you may see some things here that you're not used to seeing, or you may not see something that you're used to seeing. But your profile, your allocations will be set according to your agency. And another thing that I want to show you, we're going to go under here to attachments. So I'm going to go ahead and click on new document. And please remember that we're in the line item level here. I can select a document type as internal or supplier. So if I choose supplier, then the supplier will be able to see this attachment that I've placed at the line item level. And I do want to make a note that internal would be able to see supplier documents as well, your internal folks or your approvers. But if you choose an internal attachment, then only the internal folks will see it. And we'll go ahead and click into that real quick and I'll just show you. You're going to name your documentation because you can have more than one attachment on your requisition at the item level and at the header level. And we'll see that in just a moment. And then you would just kind of click here to add your file, whether you drag it or dive into your folders to find it. So we'll go ahead and close that out. All right, so that is basically it for looking at the catalog items. Again, we have added that item to our cart, and all of our required fields are complete. So we're pretty much ready to check out. But I did want to show you, we talked about attachments at the line item level. So if I scroll down, I can see the allocations that were selected here. And then the next one down is attachments. And so this is on the header level, attachments on the header level. And you would click new document and it would be the same way. You would choose whether it's a supplier visible document, which again, if you choose it visible to the supplier, internal sees it as well, or whether it's an internal attachment, which only the supplier would not see. And this would be at the header level that you could do that. And then there's also another place here on the header level for internal comments, and the supplier would not see those. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the demo here. Certainly, if you guys have any questions and we need to pop back over to share again, we will be able to do that.
Thank you, Sandy. And I'm going to start sharing my screen again. And we will go in to the Q&A portion. So first question is, how can we know about the mandatory vendors for certain products like stationery, calendars, and ink cartridges? Thanks for all your help.
So during the demo, when we were in the search and filter on the left-hand menu, you could search by mandatory source, and that would bring up only the punch out catalogs and the catalog items that are under mandatory source.
Awesome, thank you. And I can answer this next one. Do you have to select the least expensive item? So this came in while you were doing the comparison demo, and you do not have to choose the least expensive item. It's just, that's what it shows you highlighted in green. But if you wanted to choose another one, you absolutely can. Next question. With the implementation of the new system, is it expected that managers and directors enter their own EVA requests and move them through the approval process? I'm trying to get a full understanding of how the overall process flows for staff. Thank you. So who does the ordering and who is in the approval flow is really a business decision. It depends on how your organization is set up. So I would check with your procurement department, and if you are in your procurement department and are the procurement manager, check with your account executive, because different organizations follow different policies and have different business processes. And I think the next two questions are relatively the same, which is where will we be able to see whether a vendor is micro or small or any other type of SWAM certification?
Sarah, can I share again and I'll show that?
Absolutely. I will stop sharing.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. So here we are, we're in the catalog screen for searching products. I did shop and search products, and I do have a lot of columns open that can be tailored to your view when you get into the system. But if I scroll over, there's a column for SWAM categories. And so each catalog item for that supplier, it actually shows all of their SWAM. And if they are, these are all SWAM. I'll show you. If it's blank, they're not SWAM certified. Otherwise, it does show all the categories here.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy. Start sharing again. And the next question is, what about waivers? And before we answer this question, whoever asked this is one of the people with a Zoom alias. So if you could respond to your question with your name so that I can make sure that you are captured as attending, that would be awesome. So what about waivers? Is it a specific waiver, or Sandy, do you want to?
I think we would need them to elaborate on their question a little bit.
Sure.
Like, are they talking about waivers for products that they're not normally supposed to buy for their agency? It could be a lot of different things. So if you want to elaborate on your question, we'll be glad to try and answer that.
Awesome. Thank you. The next question is, mandatory source is different from mandatory contract, correct? i.e. VC, VCO, et cetera, versus other suppliers.
So mandatory source is, yes, that would be VCE, VIB, VDC, and mandatory contract, the different subtypes. It could be an agency mandatory contract or that type of thing. So yes, there is a difference there. And that does not change from current EVA or classic EVA. Anything that was set in place like that before is still going to be in place on November 1st, as far as mandatory contract versus mandatory source, etc. So I hope that answers your question.
The next question is, what type of documents will you put under the header attachments versus the line item documents? So this is actually something that we covered during the requisitions VILT. So if you haven't taken that yet and have it either later today or tomorrow, that is taught by yours truly. So you'll either be happy that you get to hear from me again or annoyed. So hopefully it's happy, but we do go over attachments during that session. And then the next two are asking about the recordings for these sessions. So there is going to be one session on each topic recorded, and there are 5 topics: catalogs, requisitions, orders, sourcing, and contracts. They will all be located on the training site starting next week, probably towards the end of next week, because all of DPS is going to be providing support to all of you wonderful end users, but we will let everyone know when they have been posted so that you can access them. And then it looks like Sheila came back with some clarification about the waiver, which is items that we have to purchase with approval from the mandatory source.
I'm still a little unclear about exactly what you're asking. As we were showing with the catalog view, you can filter the items by mandatory, the catalog items and punch out catalogs by mandatory source. If there are items that you purchase with approval from a mandatory source, maybe the waiver would be an attachment that you would place on the header level for that requisition. So hopefully that answers that question for you.
And last question is, will the SWAM status show in the comparison? I don't think that it does.
No, I don't believe that it does. I'm checking, I'm just peeking. No, it does not. We just have the item information, the manufacturer, the supplier, the price, the lead time, and the validity, begin date, and end date. That's all that's showing. And this doesn't look like I can customize it either. It's just what it is. So no, it does not show in the compare. Thank you for that question.
Can you give clarity on required items for the P2P order process? So we talk about orders during the VILT orders session, which we have one today at 1 and one tomorrow at 1, where we talk about the P2P order process. I'm not seeing any other open questions right now, which is fine. If you all think of something and you want to add it in there while we're going over the last 2 slides that we have, please feel free to put it in there. But in the meantime, let's do this last poll question. So the last poll question is, do you feel ready to use this functionality? So are you feeling confident? Do you feel like you need more practice? I will be honest that I say that I fall into that middle category. I feel like I always need practice. So I would put myself there for probably a while. Or do you need to review resources? Again, no right or wrong answer here. We just are really trying to see how confident you are after today's session. So we are right under 90%. So if we can get that 90%, I would be super happy. From a group this large, I don't expect 100%, but 90% would be good. Awesome, we just hit it. So I will end the poll and share the results. So a lot of you are in that middle category, which is what I said that I am in, so not a problem. There's no right or wrong answer. Super excited to see a lot of you feeling more confident. And if you need to review resources, of course you do. It's a system that is being replaced after 20 years. So maybe part of your practice is reviewing those resources. So not a problem. Again, no right or wrong answer here. So I'm going to stop sharing that because it looks like we had 2 other questions come in. Can you give clarity on confirming orders, supplier or buyer facing? So this is something also that we discussed during the orders VILT, because it's a confirming order. And I will tell you that they are able to be seen by the supplier, just to give you a short answer, but we go into more depth on them during the orders VILT. Where can we search to find EVA vendors? you can search currently, you can't really have access to any of that because it's down until it comes back up. But after that, there is a supplier portion in the environment where you can search for suppliers. And you can also, we even talk about it on the requisition VILT about being able to search for them right from the line item if you already know who the supplier is. Is there a priority on choosing a purchase to what is listed on SWAM vendors as far as small minority, women owned, et cetera? So that's a policy question about whether to use SWAM vendors or not to use SWAM vendors. So I will say check with your procurement department about what the rules are. Really depends on what purview you fall under. If you are in the procurement department and you are the manager, please check with your account executive. Will the same reports be available in the new platform? So I don't want to speak on reports because I am not the reporting lead and Sandy is also not the reporting lead. So we don't want to give you the wrong information, but there have been some communications that have been sent out from our data analyst, Anna Coy, that talks about what reports are be available. So I would suggest taking a look at those. Are you able to share a sample of an approved request? So we actually go through what the approval process looks like during the requisitions VILT. So if you are signed up for that, we will take a look at it there. When you have multiple suppliers, how do the multiple requisitions work? Sandy, I'm going to let you handle this because you answered it so beautifully the other day.
So yes, if you order from multiple suppliers on one requisition, it would just create multiple orders. So if you are ordering items from different suppliers on one requisition, then you can expect that you will have a purchase order number for each individual supplier.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy. I'm not seeing any other open questions right now, so we are going to go into next steps. First, there will be a survey evaluate. I always mess this up. A session evaluation survey that will pop up after today's session. Basically, after I close the webinar, it will pop up. So don't close right out of your right out of the meeting if you want to participate in that survey. It lets us know what we're doing well as a training team and what we can improve upon. Also, review your self-paced training if needed. It's always available to you in the learning management system. The next 3 things I actually probably need to update because this is the first day where they don't apply because we took down the system last night. So the training website is not available right now. The newsroom isn't, and neither is the buyer user group. However, when you go to the EVA homepage, there are 2 links available, one for buyer resources and one for supplier resources. You can get to the quick reference guides from there and other information that is applicable. Now, keep in mind, though, that is just until Tuesday when the new platform will be available. And then the training site will be available again, and you will get to see Eva's debut of her of the new platform. So that will be exciting. So I'm not seeing any other open questions. So first of all, I just want to give a huge thank you to Sandy because not only is she taking time out of her extremely busy schedule as the catalog manager, she has a lot of activities and tasks that she needs to do before we go live on Tuesday, but it's also her birthday. So thank you, Sandy. It's always such a pleasure to train with you, and you are just wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And secondly, thank you to all of you for attending. We hope that you found today's session valuable. And if you are joining us either today or tomorrow, we will see you on those sessions. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Bye now.